Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate your time and your viewership. It means a lot. So in today's video, we're going to be focusing our attention on a fragrance that is veering on the inexpensive side. And so this one is roughly 40 pounds if you live in the UK. This is actually a company that is based out of the UK. They have a few different fragrances. And today I'm going to be reviewing the one called Dark Matter. The fragrance brand is called Oud X. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Oud X's Dark Matter, a fragrance that I recently discovered and acquired, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews here on YouTube, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. And while you're at it, please make sure to like this video. It would really go a long way. And so this is a company that I recently discovered. I got an email from them and they were interested in sending me a few fragrances. And so I received one for men and one for women. And being as though my demographic of viewership is predominantly male, so 85% men, I figured, okay, let me review the men's version. And so this is a really dark fragrance. If you couldn't already tell by taking a look at the color of the liquid inside the bottle, it's kind of like this dark ambery, almost black hue to it. But of course, with a name like Dark Matter, that's kind of to be expected. And so there are a lot of really interesting notes in here, including incense and coffee and hemp. And it might already be jogging our memory somewhat in terms of what it could be similar to. But in any case, I'll save my thoughts for just a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the presentation. So right in the opening of this fragrance, you get something really dark and earthy, and it has this smoky quality about it. Now, when I think of incense, usually you think of the spiraling smoke that is rising from the incense stick or the incense cone, but what does that smell like? And so what kind of incense is being burned, right? Is it myrrh? Is it copal? Is it frankincense? Is it dragon's blood? There's so many different types of incense on the market. So when I'm thinking about this one, I am thinking about kind of like a soft, earthy pine sort of a scent. And so maybe something veering in the wheelhouse of like an olibanum, AKA frankincense, just because it has those green nuances to the fragrance. And so I'm really appreciating that so far. And then you also kind of have like this roasted coffee vibe that's happening in here with a touch of that hemp note that I spoke about before. And so it's a combination of all three of these things. And in terms of that smoky appeal, I'm wondering if there's a little bit of cade oil in here, because whenever you do add cade to perfumes, it can darken up the juice inside the bottle. A lot of times I also think, is there birch in here? Because when you add birch to a fragrance, it also creates this aroma of kind of like burning leaves or like a burning forest or something like that. Now, it's not quite that extreme. It's more soft, warm, woodsy, resinous and balsamic, and it actually has a sweet tone to it as well. So I'm picking up on like a little bit of a sweetness. I don't know if it's coming from like labdanum, because labdanum resinoid in and of itself can actually come across smelling a little sweet and a little exotic, or maybe there's actually some vanilla at play in here, but I am actually getting a little bit of a sweetness from it, but I'm also getting like that earthy texture and also that smoky vibe with a touch of that coffee. So this fragrance kind of reminds me of Black Afgano by Nasomatto. And if you don't already know, Black Afgano by Nasomatto, which came out many years ago, also has very dark liquid inside the bottle. And this one has a very similar note breakdown to Black Afgano. If I had to pick out a difference between this one and Black Afgano, I would probably say that this one has a much more sweeter undertone. And so it's not so sweet to the point where it's like gourmand leaning or something like that, but it has a touch of sweetness in here that I'm not actually finding in Black Afgano. So that's actually taking the DNA and bringing it into a slightly different direction, which might work for some people. It might actually be able to cut away from, or maybe like distract you from some of the darker elements in there. But this is definitely a dark, gothic, mysterious sort of a fragrance. With a name like Dark Matter, that's kind of to be expected. You don't expect something very bright and happy and cheerful and lively and happy-go-lucky. Like, that's certainly not what you're gonna get from this. Although they do have another one, I think it's called Blood Brothers, which I actually had a chance to smell. And it's like this really bright, citrusy and woodsy scent. I'm actually looking forward to maybe covering that on my channel if there's any interest for it. But what I can tell you is that for an inexpensive fragrance in the wheelhouse of like 40 pounds, I think $39.99, and for a 50 ml bottle, and the performance on this one is pretty decent too. If you are looking for perhaps a slightly sweeter alternative to Nasomatto's Black Afgano, I think you've got a real winner here. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, like I said, there are a lot of fragrances out there that have sort of utilized this DNA. Of course, there's Black Afgano by Nasomatto, there's Laudano Nero by Tiziana Terenzi. So there are a lot of brands that have experimented with that dark, coffee, woods, resin, smoke, hemp thing that's also happening in this fragrance. And so it's very similar, but the overall smell will really appeal to somebody who's looking to diversify their fragrance collection, maybe start to explore some darker territories, fragrances that are a little bit more avant-garde, mysterious, rich. And so it definitely gives off that brooding gothic vibe, which I personally really like. In terms of the longevity for this one, you can expect about 8 hours on your skin. The projection for this one was great for the first hour and a half of application. It actually radiated a little bit beyond an arm's length for the first half hour to an hour, and it started to sit closer to the skin right around that 5 hour mark. Right at that 7 hour or 8 hour mark, I would say, is when you need to reapply. The only thing I would say is definitely don't spray it on clothing unless you wish to stain your shirt. In terms of the versatility for this one, I think this one would work really well in every season except for summer, just because it does come across smelling a little bit on the darker side. But I think fall and winter is really where it's at for this one. I would personally really enjoy wearing this one in the winter time, and that's one of the reasons why I actually sprayed it on my hand today as opposed to my shirt like I usually do, just because I don't want, even though this is a dark shirt, I don't want it getting stained. But anyway, so versatility, great for every season, except for the summertime. I can see both men and women enjoying this one. I can see somebody who's a little bit older really appreciating this one, and there's something formal about it. So it kind of gives off like this mysterious, dark, formal, classy vibe. I wouldn't really wear this one casually running errands or anything like that. And then in terms of the presentation, I think the name is really cool. I do like the bottles and the design. So my final verdict on this one is, if you are looking for an inexpensive alternative to Nasomatto's Black Afgano, but then something that's perhaps a little bit sweeter than Black Afgano, I would definitely recommend that you check out Dark Matter by Oud X. I think this is a solid fragrance. I like a lot of the notes that are in here. It's definitely my type of fragrance and the type of fragrance that I would wear when it gets to be a little bit colder outside. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. That was my fragrance review of Oud X's Dark Matter. Are you interested in seeing me cover any other fragrances from this brand? I have only one other one, but if you would like for me to review it, I would be more than happy to. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and this video helped you in any way, if you took anything of value from this video, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And while you're at it, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up for the algorithm. You have no idea how much it would mean to me. Thanks again for watching. Love you all, and we'll see you next time.